tonight.
You're wrong.
The deep Democratic Party divisions in last night's debate sets the stage for more in just a few hours. And our exclusive interview.
They literally have nowhere to put those individuals.
With Republican Senator James Lankford on the humanitarian crisis at the border. And the second missile launch out of North Korea in less than a week.
Follow me.
And we go behind the scenes with Jesus in Texas. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
Well, it's round two, the second Democratic debate. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm John Jessup.
And I'm Jenna Browder. Last night, the divide was deep between far left and moderate Democrats. So will we see that again tonight?
Whether on health care, immigration, or the environment, progressive candidates pushing for radical change met blowback from the moderates wanting a more cautious approach.
And we have team coverage tonight, beginning with Charlene Aaron, on how the two sides can't seem to agree on how best to beat President Trump.
Night one of the Democratic debates in Detroit highlighted the internal struggle for the direction of the Democratic Party as moderates and progressives squared off.
Senators Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, the leaders of the progressive pack, boldly put forth their ambitious ideas. Bernie Sanders defending his Medicare for All plan.
Congressman Delaney just referred to it as bad policy, and previously he has called the idea political suicide that will just get President Trump reelected. What do you say to Congressman Delaney?
You're wrong.
We don't have to go around and be the party of subtraction and telling half the country who has private health insurance that their health insurance is illegal.
Sanders getting a little testy when challenged on the details.
For senior citizens, it will finally include dental care, hearing aids, and eyeglasses.
But you don't know.
Second of all,
you don't know that,
second
Bernie.
of all,
We'll come to you in a second,
I do know, and I wrote the bill.
For her part, Elizabeth Warren calling out moderates for not being ambitious enough.
I don't understand why anybody goes to all the trouble of running for president of the United States just to talk about what we really can't do and shouldn't fight for.
And sparring over immigration policy, specifically decriminalizing illegal immigration.
So the problem is that right now, the criminalization statute is what gives Donald Trump the ability to take children away from their parents. It's what gives him the ability to lock up people at our borders.
We can actually get to the point where we have both safe borders, where we have a path to citizenship, where we have opportunities for dreamers. And you don't have to decriminalize everything.
On the topic of race, the candidates took the opportunity to bash President Trump, but Beto O'Rourke came out with a bold statement of his own.
I will also sign into law Sheila Jackson Lee's reparations bill so that we can have the national conversation we have waited too long in this country to have.
South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg referenced the Bible as he took a shot at conservative Christians in the Senate for not supporting a minimum wage bill.
So-called conservative Christian senators right now in the Senate are blocking a bill to raise the minimum wage when Scripture says that whoever oppresses the poor taunts their maker.
And the internet is abuzz over Representative Tim Ryan of Ohio not putting his hand over his heart during the national anthem. Was it an oversight or a statement?
The second half of the debate pairs up Senator Kamala Harris and former Vice President Joe Biden. He's the significant frontrunner right now. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
I'm Amber Strong in Washington. If past performance is any predictor of future behavior, you can expect the sparks to reignite between the former vice president and Senator Harris. Last time around, Biden vowed to stay above the fray, but this time, his campaign says he's fighting back.
Vice President Biden, do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America?
During the previous debate, Biden faced tough criticism over his nearly 50 years in politics, particularly when it comes to African Americans.
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education. That's what I opposed.
Well, there was a failure of states to integrate public schools in America.
And the blows haven't stopped, with Senator Cory Booker joining the fray, criticizing Biden's policy positions, past and present.
And now he's unveiled his crime bill,
for a guy who helped to be an architect of mass incarceration, this is an inadequate solution to what is a raging crisis in our country.
Tonight, Biden will be center stage between Harris and Booker, this time vowing to put up a fight.
Now, the former vice president says he may have been, quote, overly polite last time, but it won't happen again. Amber Strong, CBN News in Washington.
And here now to discuss is Doug Thornell, principal at SKD Knickerbocker and a former DNC senior advisor, and CBN's chief political analyst, David Brody. Both of you, thanks for being here.
Thanks. Great to be with you.
Doug, to you first. Is it no holds barred tonight?
Round two, Kamala and the vice president. You know, I actually think you might be surprised that, I mean, look, I think they'll probably mix it up a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see Cory Booker. I think he's previewed that a little bit, that he'll, you know, he's going to try to want to mix it up a little bit. It may not just be with the vice president. There's, you know, he and Kamala Harris are sort of angling for a lot of the same votes. So I wouldn't be surprised if they try to engage. And then also, I think some of the dark horses, Tulsi Gabbard, you know, she went after Kamala Harris earlier this week, said she was not qualified to be president. I wouldn't be surprised if you see her try to mix it up. I think for some of the folks who are at the 1% level, 1.5% level, tonight might be the last time we see them on a debate stage, because the requirements for the Democratic debate in Houston increase. They got to get to 2%, and then they have to have 130,000 donors. So tonight is vital to the health of their campaigns.
Maybe a question to the both of you. You know, Biden is leading ahead going into the second night of the debates. He was leading before, and in the last debates, a lot of people critiqued his performance. Can he afford another bad night if he has one tonight?
Technically, he can afford it, but it would be very, very hard for Joe Biden to stomach yet another bad night. Look, a second bad night's not going to just end his chances, but it's going to definitely craft a narrative out there that he is a step slow. And I got to tell you, he was definitely a step slow in that first debate. My spidey sense, and call it whatever you want, but I call it the spidey sense. I think Biden's in big trouble tonight. I think he is a step slow. I think he's going to be double teamed by Cory Booker and Kamala Harris. And you put all of that together, and I know he's going to fight back, but I got to tell you, I don't think it's going to work for the Joe Biden of 2020, if you will, compared to some of the other Joe Bidens we've seen in the past.
Doug, I thought it was interesting. Even the New York Times had an article out yesterday talking about Biden's age being a factor. So what are your thoughts on all of this?
I think that, first of all, Joe Biden, you know, he's got another month or so under his belt on the trail. So I think he's going to shake off some of that rust. And I think that his team has telegraphed that he is not going to just fall down. He's going to fight back. He's not going to be polite. He's going to draw contrast, and you saw that this week with Cory Booker. The Biden campaign had a pretty strongly worded statement going after Booker on issues related to criminal justice reform. So, look, I think that the vice president, you can say what you want about the first debate, but the polling has actually reset to where it was before the first debate. So something's gone right for him, or something's gone right for the other, or gone wrong for the other Democrats. I mean, he's still leading right around where he was. And so, but it's important he has a good night. I think his team knows that, and he's prepared that way.
I just want to say, I think the reason his numbers have stayed relatively, or bounced back relatively consistent, because I think that's kind of where the party is. And we hear all the time about the oxygen, and the media gives oxygen to the AOCs and the Rashida Tlaibs and the Ilhan Omars. But the truth of the matter is, I mean, you'd speak better to this than I would, but I would think the Democratic Party seems more like still that mainstream Democrat, you know, that Joe Biden appeals to. That's why his numbers don't fluctuate as much. And once again, we hear a lot in the media about the far left, but I'm not quite sure if it's there. And I think that's a challenge for Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders.
Well, we saw it on display last night with Warren and Sanders against kind of the moderates. David, can a divided Democratic Party beat President Trump?
No, they're going to need all hands on deck to beat Donald Trump. And I think we saw some of that divide last night. I thought that was the headline, that we had some of those centrist Democrats, call it whatever you want, mainstream, regular, I don't know,
pragmatic,
you've got the term, pragmatic Democrats pushing back. And I thought one of the big winners last night was Joe Biden. He wasn't even on stage, but they did his dirty work for him, and they hit Warren and Sanders pretty hard.
Yeah, except that Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, I thought, performed well. Yeah, they didn't fall back and. But I do agree with you. Look, the party's got to be unified. Both parties need to be unified. I think that's why you're seeing the president running the campaign he's running right now. He needs his base. Both parties need their base.
Real quick question, if we can squeeze it in. They had some pretty bold policy prescriptions on the environment, on education, on health care. How do they pay for it?
Well, look, that is I think, a fundamental question that a number of these candidates face. And I think that if you are a Joe Biden, if you are Kamala Harris also, if it's like those two and then Warren and Biden and Sanders left over, I think what you're going to see is those questions directed at a Bernie Sanders. How are you going to pay for this stuff? Because it's unclear.
And I will just say that when Elizabeth Warren was asked that question about a middle class, are you going to increase tax on the middle class? If you notice, she didn't answer it. She said the cost for middle class Americans would go down. She didn't say taxes would go up. My guess is the longer answer is taxes go up, but ultimately your costs will go down. But you never want to say your taxes will go up, and I think that might be part of the issues going forward.
All right, David Brody, Doug Thornell, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Well, for more on tonight's debate, you can follow our live group text. Our CBN News team will be on hand with live updates and answers to your questions during the debate. To join the conversation, all you have to do is text CBN to 22415, and it all starts at 8 p.m. Eastern. Well, today, Ben Carson, the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, returned to Baltimore amid an ongoing spat between the president and Maryland Congressman Elijah Cummings.
Cummings declined an invitation to join Secretary Carson, who used to work as a pediatric neurosurgeon at Johns Hopkins. Carson said sending those kids back to their neighborhoods where rats and roaches roamed was a dilemma.
The federal government has invested a lot of money in Baltimore, and will continue to do so. But as you can see from looking around, there are problems here in Baltimore. There are good things in Baltimore. There are bad things in Baltimore. Baltimore's been in the news a lot lately. And I have a special place in my heart for Baltimore and for the people of Baltimore. There are a lot of excellent, wonderful people here. And there are a lot of good places here in Baltimore as well. But there are problems, and we can't sweep them under the rug. It's sort of like if you have a patient who has cancer, and you can dress them up and put a nice suit on them, and you can try to ignore it, but that cancer is going to have a devastating effect. You have to be willing to address that issue if you're ever going to solve it.
And Carson added the president was willing to work with Congressman Cummings to help the city and Baltimore residents.
Well, to the southern border, while lawmakers debate on how to address the growing humanitarian crisis there, many are actually leaving the Beltway to see the situation firsthand.
That's right. CBN's Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson spoke to Senator James Lankford about his recent trip to facilities in McAllen, Texas.
Well, one priority for Senator Lankford is to clear up misconceptions about immigration and customs enforcement, or ICE. While his Democrat colleagues want to defund ICE, Lankford argues it is the force best equipped and designed to handle the people at the heart of this situation.
Until we can get our folks to agree that ICE needs to be funded as well, we'll continue to have people in overcrowded facilities.
Lankford highlighted this point while questioning the acting commissioner of Customs and Border Patrol.
My simple question to you is, are your facilities designed and set up to hold thousands of people? Is that the mission of Customs and Border Patrol?
Absolutely not, Senator. We've stated that again and again and again.
So I'm a little frustrated that our conversation seems to be, what can we do to help Customs and Border Patrol be better at detaining people, when that's not even the mission of Customs and Border Patrol.
When you just outlined the answer is we fund ICE. We asked for $200 million in supplement. It was denied. And then we question why we are overcrowded.
Lankford visited 5 facilities around McAllen, Texas, where 40% of the illegal crossings take place.
In that one small area of the border, they have 1,500 to 2,000 people every single day that illegally cross the border at that point.
He believes the solution is obvious. Get additional money for ICE. Change asylum laws so people who legitimately qualify can actually get it in a timely manner. And fix the Flores Agreement.
This Flores Agreement was done years ago, but it says if you travel with a child or you are a child, and that is 17 years old or younger, then you can only be in detention a total of 20 days, and then you get released in the country.
Lankford claims drug cartels are exploiting this law.
50% of the men crossing the border now have a child with them.
That number 5 years ago was just 1%, and he adds 20 days is not enough time to get information on who is coming into the country.
Border Patrol told me just recently they released someone that they later found out had a murder warrant back in their home country. They released a different person that was a pedophile from their home country.
And when asked about conditions at the facilities,
and all 5 of those facilities, I could see diapers and hygiene products, toothbrushes, snacks, water, changes of clothes.
Lankford also admitted some stations are very overcrowded, particularly those holding single men.
The Border Patrol will be the first to be able to tell you, we don't want to have this many people, but if additional funding is not given to ICE, they literally have nowhere to put those individuals.
Lankford claims many Border Patrol agents are giving their own money to help the problem.
There are lots of stories of Border Patrol agents going above and beyond and doing what they can to be able to take care of people. And it's very hard for them to be able to see some of the news, to see if one bad thing happens, all the news says that's the way all Border Patrol agents are, and it's just not.
Lankford tells me the truth is there are hygiene products, but the facilities are overcrowded. And he believes until there is proper funding for ICE, the issues will continue. Back to you, John and Jenna.
When we come back, North Korea's second missile launch in less than a week, how it's increasing tensions with the U.S.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
Here, we're committed to a heritage of rigorous scholarship dating back over 1,000 years.
And to a faith tradition dating back 1,000 more.
This is how we create a culture of inquiry where no topic is off limits.
And a culture of hope.
Anything's possible!
It's Christian leadership.
And it's changing the world for the better.
It's higher learning.
It's greater knowing.
It's what makes us whole.
It's what makes us Regent.
Well, North Korea's latest missile test is putting more pressure on the United States and its now stalled nuclear talks. The rogue regime fired 2 short-range ballistic missiles off the East Coast, the second launch in less than a week. It's now been more than a month since Mr. Trump became the first American president to step foot in North Korea with that historic handshake at the demilitarized zone dividing the Korean peninsula. The escalation follows North Korean diplomats skipping a highly anticipated meeting today with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo.
And here with us now is David Maxwell, Senior Fellow with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. David, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Great to be here.
David, what's the strategy behind these missile launches?
Well, there are a number of interpretations. Number one, the default position is really North Korea. Kim Jong-un is sending messages to both South Korea and the United States. He's certainly expressing his displeasure with the upcoming ROK-US combined readiness exercises. Certainly, he is fearful of the ROK procurement of the F-35 fighter that is a real threat to North Korea. The U.S. just deployed a nuclear attack submarine to the port of Busan in South Korea. So all these actions are things that he is fearful of and wants to express his displeasure. And of course, last week, a senior U.S. official met with North Koreans at Panmunjom, and he said they were told that North Korea would soon participate in working level negotiations. But I really think that that Kim Jong-un does not want to allow working level negotiations, and instead he wants to protect his relationship with President Trump, the personal relationship, and so that they can practice what some call unconventional, experimental top-down diplomacy. I think Kim Jong-un really believes he can get a deal by dealing directly with President Trump, and so I think that that's one of the main reasons why he's doing this. The second reason, though, is that they are fielding this missile system, and they have to test it before they deploy it. And this missile system provides a real threat against South Korean and U.S. military targets throughout the entire Korean peninsula. And so that's
David,
a very important consideration.
David, you have the North Koreans today skipping out on that highly anticipated meeting with Secretary Pompeo. What do they achieve with that?
Well, I think that all decisions in North Korea are made at the top, by Kim Jong-un, and it seems apparent that he is not ready to allow working level negotiations, despite the promise that he allegedly made at Panmunjom on June 30th, despite what our senior official was told last week. I think that, this is an indication of Kim Jong-un trying to control the situation, control the narrative, and he is conducting a form of political warfare, or what I like to call the long con, where he tries to get political and economic concessions without giving up anything.
Just one more question. The president has met with leader Kim Jong-un 3 times now. David, has he gotten really anything out of this?
Other than talking, other than developing a relationship, North Korea has done nothing to reduce tensions. They haven't taken any substantial steps at all towards denuclearization. And they really, North Korea, of course, is trying to get sanctions relief. And the very positive thing President Trump has done is not lift sanctions. And I think that's what is really required, is we must maintain the pressure on North Korea.
All right, we got to leave it there. David, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're very welcome.
Coming up, the Federal Reserve makes a big decision affecting the American economy. What that means for you when we return.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com. Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new MyCBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family. And collect points to win prizes. The all-new MyCBN app. A great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile. Grow, connect, have fun. The all-new MyCBN app.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs, from health to entertainment, you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place, from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Check your local listings or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel. Now available at cbnradio.com.
Tonight, the Federal Reserve is pulling the trigger on interest rate cuts.
That's right. The Fed cuts mark the first rate reduction since 2008 and potentially opens the door to more rate cuts in the coming months by lowering interest rates a quarter point from about 2.5% to about 2.25%. The move is meant as a preemptive boost to the economy in the face of a global slowdown and the ongoing trade war with China.
It's a shift the president has long planned. Well, tonight, the Pentagon is identifying the 2 U.S. Army soldiers killed in Afghanistan. Both soldiers died this week in a green on blue incident when they were shot by an Afghan Army soldier. Private First Class Brandon J. Kreischer of Stryker, Ohio, was 20 years old. The other American was Army Specialist Michael Isaiah Nance of Chicago, who was 24. The 2 soldiers died Monday in an insider attack that is still under investigation. Coming up, Jesus in Texas. We go behind the scenes of the new series.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News.
Well, finally tonight, Christians believe we'll see Jesus in heaven, but this week, he's in Texas.
Follow me.
One first shot. Let's be good to each other.
And the miniseries called The Chosen is filming more episodes this week on location near Weatherford, Texas. The show is based on a life of Jesus and the disciples, along with a backstory that stays true to the Bible. The Chosen is #1 crowdfunded media project in history. Have a great night.